Oh, I heard I need to do this. Oh, I heard I need to be there. And you really don't need to do them all, especially not all at the same time. Right. So it's more about prioritizing first your website, then it's about where are my customers? How can I get in front of them? What platforms are those?
Are you looking to improve your sales skills without compromising your values? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, a podcast for business and personal growth. Join Harry Spate, author of Selling with Dignity, your formula for life-changing sales results, as he hosts sales experts and business owners who share their journeys of personal growth and business success without resorting to pushy sales tactics. Now, here's your host, Harry.
Today with me is the world-renowned Jose Victor Castellanos, and he is a young man with a ton of energy. And don't be offended by the word young, Jose, because everyone is younger than me. So in case you don't know, Jose is a 10-year veteran of digital marketing and the CEO of Recon Media, Inc. Recon Media provides digital marketing services to local businesses, helping them improve their online presence and, more importantly, increase revenue. So, Jose, welcome to the Sales Made Easy podcast. What's the good word?
Thanks for having me, Harry. Super excited to be on here. So just here to, share what I know and hopefully be able to provide some insight to somebody.
All right. Jose, I know you're going to help me. And if you help me, that means a lot, but I'm sure you're going to help a few of our listeners too. Because marketing is one of those things like if anyone has started a business, they probably, well, unless they have a marketing background, they probably didn't realize how much marketing is required. So, why don't we get a little understanding of your background and then we're going to dive into what some of our challenges might be and see if you might be able to help us a little bit. So, tell us a little bit about you, Jose.
Yeah. So I've been doing digital marketing now 10 years. I, Before that, I actually was in retail sales. So a lot of working in brick and mortar stores. But 10 years ago, I started my digital marketing venture with search engine optimization, social media, and then just continue to kind of learn as things continue to progress forward. So I was very fortunate to be very early on when it came to digital marketing because things started to roll out as I was continuing to learn. So as new things came out, I was able to learn those things and implement them into my business and implement them into my clients. So yeah, so that was 10 years ago. I started that, worked with a small agency, worked at big agencies. And then my agency, I actually started 8 years ago and with the focus of helping small business owners just because they have a big opportunity. A lot of them believe that they can't compete with big companies, but the playing field is a lot more even now. It doesn't cost as much to advertise, doesn't cost as much to get online anymore, to have a website. There's a lot of things that don't cost as much as people may believe it does, to be able to get out there in front of your ideal prospect.
Yeah, I mean, this is so good. It's so right up my alley with the way you're passionate about small businesses, and there's tons of opportunity for them. I think very similarly. So, when you started your own small business, what was the big surprise that hit you early on when you started your business?
Well, the biggest surprise is actually trying to get clients, right? Like that's always the hardest thing. That was definitely the first thing that kind of hit me was okay, I'm starting this business now. How do I get clients? Because nobody knew who I was, nobody knew what I did, and no one really knew what my experience was back then. And so it was hard for people to, trust me to do their marketing for them. And so, just getting out there and, connecting with people just was hard at first to get them to actually be like, yeah, sure, let me sign up with you.
Hey, let me invest thousands of dollars with this newcomer here. So, yeah, that's so true with what you just said. So, when you first started, did you think that if you built it based on your reputation and your skill sets, that it would be fairly easy to get clients?
Oh yeah. It's always one of those things like, all right, I'll put out the ad or I'll put out a post or I'll do this. And this is it. Like people are going to see this and this is going to bring me so much business. Just like most people think with marketing, oh, I'm going to do this one marketing campaign and that's going to make my business. So I fell into that trap as well very early on because I didn't really have a sales process or an actual process. It was more like, let me put this out there, let me grab some people and just keep going back and forth like that. It wasn't really a process. It was more like, let me throw a hook out there and see if I catch something. And it was a very, very big ocean with a lot of space out there, and everybody missed my hook.
Yeah. And it's like, where do you begin, right? So it sounds like you have experience with what a lot of people have experienced. So did you ever have a sales background at all, Jose? Or did you just go really from marketing into this and then figured out that you were really in sales too?
Yeah, so I actually had a sales background.
Mm.
So my very first job very early on when I was 13 was actually selling pumpkins at a pumpkin patch. But before going into marketing, I worked for AT&T. So as part of working at AT&T, I was actually a retail sales manager. So I was actually responsible for training and coaching other representatives on how to sell to the people that came into our store. Right. So it's a little bit different when it comes to selling to somebody that comes to you, right? That walks into your door, says, "Hey, I need your service," or "I need your help," compared to what I do and what most small business owners have to do is they actually have to go out and get those people to come to them because most of us don't have brick and mortar stores where people are just walking into. So back then, as part of my training with AT&T, I did go through some Harvard business sales training and learned a lot when it came to, business to consumer sales, right? And really connecting with the actual consumer. What was a little different for me was more of the transition of B2B sales, right? Selling to another business owner is different than selling to a consumer because their pain points are different, the situations are different, and usually the price points are higher.
Yeah. So were you able to bring some of that training into your new role as an owner and founder of Recon Media?
Yeah, so at first I was like done with sales because I'd been doing sales for so long. I was like, I don't really want to be that salesy guy, that sales guy, da da da. And I kind of like tried to hold that stuff back a little bit. And then like a year or two into it, I'm like, all right, I need to start utilizing some of those things that I learned as far as, asking the right questions, really understanding what their pain points are, why it is that they reached out to me, how my service can actually help them and what kind of results they'll be able to achieve. And ideally, is it going to, resolve the problem that they have? And so it took me a little while to get back into that sales mode because most people don't want to be that car sales guy, right? Like that's always what people say, the car sales guy, where they're pushy, pushy, pushy and trying like, oh, guys, let's sign the paper, do this. So I never wanted to do that. So I tried to always hold back that sales side. And then, as I said, just over years, you just start to, all right, you got to be a sales guy. You have to be a salesperson, but it doesn't mean you have to be that pushy car sales guy. So tried to work on creating my own kind of style to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It sounds a lot like what I'm familiar with selling with dignity. It's just completely natural, non-salesy, non-pushy, and just continuing to ask for the next step. Right. And when you do that, people just say, I'm not ready or whatever. You don't hound them,
Exactly.
and
Just follow up.
hounding. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Good stuff. So, so one of the challenges I've learned in the digital marketing space is that there's marketing for everything. So if I can explain, and you should probably you can imagine what goes through a lot of business owners' minds is we want to be better at social media. We want to have we want to have a website that brings people to us, right? We want to attract people. There's most of us don't know anything about SEO. We don't really know anything about blogging. We don't really know anything about doing video. We don't really know how to set up a YouTube channel. I mean, there is just one thing after another. And then recently I said, oh my God, I never realized starting sales coaching would be becoming a marketing expert in about 20 different avenues. So is this what you're seeing everywhere or is it just me?
No, it's pretty consistent everywhere. So really one of the big things is that most businesses need to look at themselves not just as, the service that they provide, but they are also a marketing agency, right? Like they are their own marketing agency in essence, right? Because they have to market themselves, whether they outsource it or whether they do it in-house, they are still ultimately responsible for their success when it comes to marketing. And there are so many different avenues that you can go to advertise and market your business. There's one thing that I try to really instill in business owners is, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have LinkedIn, you have YouTube, you have all these platforms where you can create your profiles. And some business owners believe that, oh, I don't need to create a website anymore. I can just live off of my Instagram account or off of my Facebook page. But the biggest thing that most of them don't understand is that if Facebook decides to shut down tomorrow, Mark Zuckerberg's like, you know what? I got enough billions of dollars. I'll just shut this down tomorrow. I don't really need anything. Your business is gone, right? So having an actual proper website that is yours, that you own, that you're able to manage and have access to, you will never come off the internet and you'll always be able to generate business. So that's really where I think most businesses should always start is making sure that they have a very solid foundation with their own stuff, like things, the assets that they own, because they're like, oh, I have a Facebook. You don't own those. Those aren't real assets, right? Those can all disappear. You can't just be like, oh, I want my page and move it somewhere else like you can a website, right? Your website, you're not happy with your hosting. I'll just move it to a different hosting account. But everything else, really, you don't own it. So I'd really focus on having your ownership of your website, and then everything else is really trying to figure out exactly where your ideal customers are so that then you can start to layer on the other things and not just go out in there and do everything. And that's where a lot of small business owners get trapped and is like, oh, I heard I need to do this. Oh, I heard I need to do this. Oh, I heard I need to be there. I need to do this. And you really don't need to do them all, especially not all at the same time. Right. So it's more about prioritizing first your website, then it's about where are my customers? How can I get in front of them? What platforms are those? And then going through that process and building out systems and processes for marketing through those channels to drive people to your website to then ideally then reach out to you to, get your product or service.
Yeah. So this is really good. I mean, I know one or two people that have suffered from the shiny object syndrome where they chase everything. I'm not even going to mention who that might be, but he looks a lot like me. So this idea of having to be everywhere, right? No matter what we read, it seems like something we were doing is now outdated. And then we have to do something different because what we did yesterday is outdated. And, now we're doing shorts. I got into podcasting a couple of years ago. Now I'm doing shorts and building a YouTube channel. I haven't even looked at Pinterest, but people are saying, well, you're missing opportunities on Pinterest. Eventually you just have to say, I think you have to say, I'm just going to focus on a few areas and try to be good in a few things instead of being mediocre in everything. Is that wise or what's your thought there?
I think that's wise. I think that's, ideally what you'd want to do, right? Is actually really not just be good, but be great on those platforms where you really stand out. Like, for example, when I see you on LinkedIn, like your profile has always got a lot of engagement. Your posts have a lot of engagement. Like you've really mastered that platform compared to someone that's post here, post there, like they're just all over the place and they've never really dedicated time to really figure out how can I stay on this one platform and reach my people. So that is ideal as far as what you'd want to do. And the shiny object syndrome when it comes to like, oh, you should be on Pinterest also. It's like, yes, you should. Like, there's the whole omnipresent, right? Like, just be everywhere, which I believe you should be, but most small businesses can't do that, right? There's not enough bandwidth, right? The person that's doing the marketing is also doing the sales, is also doing the bookkeeping, is also doing the accounting, is also doing the payroll, right? Like, there's so many things that most people are typically doing when it comes to their own business until they get to certain levels that trying to do everything when it comes to marketing then just burns them out and then they give up on it. Or they'll decide, oh, you know what, I want to outsource it. And they'll kind of go a little cheap on it because they want to get it off their plate. But then that doesn't yield the results that they were expecting. Right. But now they're out of money. So there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to going into other areas. I believe that, like you said, just really mastering a few channels is really the best way to kind of go. And then once you've mastered them, you can create a process around that, and then you can duplicate that process in another platform, master that one, and then the next one, and then just kind of really start to build out your omnipresence over time as opposed to a one night, let's just shoot it everywhere.
Hello, it's Harry. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying this show, would you please take a moment to leave a review and maybe even share it with your friends? That way, more people can find us, and we certainly appreciate that. Now, back to the show.
So that raises the question about more posting and so forth, and people using AI and just taking over for themselves. But do you see that as a really good tool for just posting, just for the sake of posting, or does it potentially lose authenticity there, or does it matter?
Utilizing AI for the
Yeah,
posting,
yeah,
I think it depends on the tone of the business, right? The voice of the company. Because if it's coming from, like, for example, my personal brand, it's hard for me to have an AI bot write the way that I want to speak or speak the way I want it to be said,
Right.
versus I'm more of just a company and we just need to put out content related to our business and we're just sharing informational tips, right? So you could use an AI tool for that to generate your tips and then have them automatically be scheduled out, and keep it more consistent. So I think it's more about balance as opposed to what's really going to dominate, because the AI is not going to work without the proper prompt from a human. All right. So, in order for it to actually ideally work for a business, the human has to know how to set that prompt up for it to spit out the content that someone wants. And then at the same time, it's about whose voice are you trying to portray, right? So, if you're coming off as a personal brand, you're going to want to be more in front of those posts, right? Whether it be more videos, whether it be just you writing from yourself, from your own blogs, and so forth. But I believe that AI is going to play a very big part when it comes to content creation, as it is already starting to, because there's video tools out there that can literally take my picture and put a mouth on it and make it seem like it was me talking, right? And it wasn't. So there's a lot of content ideas and content things that can be utilized through AI, and I think it's about balance and learning how to utilize it. I don't think it's going to, like, get rid of people's jobs or anything like that. I think it's still too early for anything like that, but it's about embracing it and learning how to utilize it, because if you know how to utilize it, now you become more valuable because not everybody's embracing it.
right. Yeah, I spoke to a person recently, and so I try to stay up on, and I watch a lot of videos, and I think I follow some good people, Gary Vee and Alex Ramosi, and, just the amount of content that they put out and how they're putting it out. And what Gary Vee suggested over the years is to take one piece of content, I was thinking of a podcast, and repurposing it with turning it into a newsletter, turning it into a bunch of posts and so forth. So you can really minimize the time investment. But I've also learned is that if I minimize the time investment too much, I get sloppy and it's not as good. And then that's not helpful either. Right.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's the process, right? So, for example, one of the things that I do is when I do a podcast for my podcast is, I create the podcast, edit the podcast, then I create two like promo videos from it, then I take it, transcribe it, right? So like I have a documented process, and then the whole editing it for YouTube, and then have the actual captions kind of like already pre-written as far as like a template for them. So that way it's easy to kind of just go checklist, checklist, checklist. And that kind of helps when it comes to repurposing content, and then also having a checklist of where it's getting distributed to. So that's one area that, even I struggle with sometimes because I'll create a piece of content on my phone and then I'll just go through and start posting it places and not go through my checklist. And then I missed a few places and I'm like, oh, I never posted it on LinkedIn or I never posted it on Twitter. Right. So having that process and utilizing the process and the checklist every time will make that a lot easier for you and for anybody that's looking to kind of maximize their content distribution.
Well, that's great. You're speaking about a thing which sometimes I get so excited about something that's popped in my mind. I post and then it's got charitable results anyway. And it's just like, why did I do that? I skipped whatever little process I have. I skipped completely still with bad results. So anyway, lots of humor in this trial and error thing. So
Yep.
I understand in the past with you, you worked in SEO. Was that your business was SEO? And then now you're doing more Facebook and Google ads. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, so when I first got started in digital marketing, I worked at an agency that specialized in search engine optimization. So that's like the very first thing that I learned when it came to digital marketing is like how to get a website ranked on the first page. So that is something that's always been very passionate to me, and as well as Google ads, right? So anything having to do with like search and having being found on Google, that was something that I always, really worked on coming up. And then over the years, what I found with clients is that SEO is great, but it also typically takes time for it to actually generate revenue, right? So, like, you can get on the first page and start seeing movement and traction, but it takes time before it actually starts to generate revenue because you need volume of traffic. And so, with utilizing Google ads and then utilizing Facebook ads, I found that I'm able to deliver results for my clients at a much faster pace so that they're able to then increase their revenues and then reinvest back into marketing as such search engine optimization, social media management, other areas that don't have any immediate ROI to them. That way they can continue to grow without feeling that pain of, oh man, we're struggling here, but we're at least posting every day. Like, you don't want to have that feeling. You'd rather have that feeling of, all right, we're getting leads in, we're getting money in, let's keep reinvesting into this. Or okay, now we have money to do some search engine optimization, or let's do some Facebook, or let's do some Pinterest, maybe, right? Some Pinterest
Mhm.
posting or something else. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but yeah, I focus on the paid advertising side of things to help the businesses generate business right away at a much faster pace, and then reinvest into the other areas such as SEO, which is an area that I still practice in and am doing still, but not as much as the paid ads because most people, they just want more business. So if
They
they're
want
generating
results,
if
right?
they're generating business, they're happy and
Yeah.
they'll just keep putting more money into that, which, it works. But I also try to help educate them, make sure that, like I said earlier, make sure that they have a solid online presence, not just focused on one channel, because if the channel shuts down, you need to have a second channel to be able to continue your business. So
Yeah, that's right. On the paid ads, are you driving people to a landing page or to a website or to like a form getting filled out on social media? Well, how does that work?
yeah, so with Google Ads, it's typically to a landing page. Don't usually utilize the website because the website has a lot of different options and services and things of that nature. So people get confused. Google also, similar to on Facebook, I like to use the Facebook lead form, which is a form that populates right within the apps themselves so that people can just submit their information and then continue on with their scrolling. So it doesn't interrupt their kind of app experience per se.
Mm.
So that tends to work really well. Google also has that as well that they've rolled out. It's not utilized as often, but they do have a lead form that pops up right from a on a mobile device where someone could just submit their information right from the ad. But in most cases, I like to utilize the landing page because we can get really specific to exactly whatever it is that they were searching for. So whatever it is that the campaign is focused around, that's the only thing that that page will talk about, so that way they know that they're on the right page and they need to know what the next steps are there.
Beautiful. All right, can I ask you a question that is probably a lot of people wondering if they haven't used Google ads or Facebook ads? And that would be, you don't have to answer, but maybe ballpark or figure out how a person can figure out how much does it cost to invest in something like what you do, because people are probably not doing it just because of the fear that it costs too much, right?
Yeah.
So help me with that.
Yeah. Well, if you do it yourself, it's always going to cost less because you don't have to pay my management fee. But
We
the
want
way
to
to
know
kind of,
what we're doing, though, right? That's
you want
what
to know what you're doing. So
you're
this is
doing.
typically, so
Sorry.
on the Facebook side, it's really more about what your budget is, right? Like how much can you really allocate to spend on there? It's a little bit more difficult to really give a number as far as what
Yeah.
it costs because it depends on the type of campaign, what your objective is, and all of these things. So there's a lot of factors when it comes to Facebook and the types of campaigns. On the Google side, though, specifically on search, they have a tool called the Keyword Planner. So within that tool, you're able to put in specific search phrases that your potential customer would be searching for. And it's going to show you exactly how much, it's going to give you a range of what it costs for a click, right? So it's going to tell you what it costs for someone to just click on the ad and go to your website, right? Now that doesn't, or landing page. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to actually go through and go to your website and fill out the form and call you, right? That's just for a click. So I utilize that and put together a plan based off of that to kind of give us an idea as what type of budget would be required in order to achieve the results that the client is looking for. So on the low end, depending on certain things, like say like a pool service company, you're looking at maybe $2, $3 at most for a click. And then if you're looking more like personal injury lawyer or something like that, you're looking at over $100 a click. So it's hard for me to just give somebody
Sure.
a price without doing that type of research. But the information is out there. And based off of that, then we're able to create an actual plan of action and be like, all right, if we invest this much, we can expect this many clicks. And if we convert at this rate, we'll be able to generate this many leads. And then from there, you got to kind of figure out your sales goals and your conversion rates from leads to sales and all of that. But that's
Yeah.
how we figure that out.
Yeah. And it's so you really got to have a conversation. So someone else could say like me what I just did, but I knew that the answer was going to go down this path because it's just one of those things where, like you mentioned, you're gonna. I mean, if you ever use like Uber Suggest or something like from Neil Patel, right? He's
Hmm.
got, it shows you all of how much these keywords cost, and I don't know what to do with that clearly, but I do know that some words cost more than others. And, you having a conversation is like, what is your goal? I mean, if your cost or whatever, the revenue you bring in on one sale is, I mean, I saw that you did this for restaurants. I think at one time, maybe I read an article on LinkedIn or something that you're talking about Facebook ads for restaurants.
Oh, I think it was Facebook ads maybe for the kitchen and outdoor kitchen guy, maybe.
Maybe, but
It might have
yeah,
been
so I
one.
mean, some things are gonna be smaller ticket items. There might have been something else I was reading too, but it could be smaller ticket items are gonna cost less than bigger ticket items and because of something, right? I'm not sure what all
Right.
goes in that, but there's stuff that goes in it. So really, before a person says no, that I just can't afford it without knowing, my guess is they should have a conversation with someone like you to see, or is that even worth it for people like you to have a conversation with someone to just kind of help them through this process?
Oh no, I'd be happy to chat with anybody to walk them through this process. And like you said, there's Uber Suggest, which is a free site. It's actually easier to get to than the Keyword Planner. So just ubersuggest.com, I believe it is. And yeah, Neil Patel has a bunch of tools in there. It actually has one where he gives you the questions that people are searching for content ideas and blog ideas. And so, yeah, so what I do is I sit with a prospect just like this on Zoom. We pull up Uber Suggest, put in a couple key phrases that they believe are phrases. And then Uber Suggest is going to suggest us, what keywords we should be possibly targeting. And one of the big things to look is also at the trends that a lot of those keywords have. right? So there's keywords that have upward trends year over year, 3 months, and those have an impact as well. And what you're ideally looking for are what are called buyer intent keywords, right? So the keywords that people are searching for where they're further down the funnel as opposed to people that are searching, right? So if someone's searching, they're looking for, oh, what is the best this, or, looking for recommendations, right? As opposed to where can I buy this, right? And they're very specific as far as what they're looking to buy. So really understanding the different types of terms also will impact those types of campaigns. Because if you're bidding at on the top level keywords, the ones where people are doing all the research, and then you're wondering why are my ads not converting? It's because everyone's going to your site because they're searching for stuff. They're not ready to buy. So it's really about learning how to segment the keywords to be able to really drive the right traffic and ideally the right amount of traffic to be able to convert them.
Yeah. So with this in mind, right? So I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I would never try to do that on my own. I can post on social media on my own, but even that I've read a ton about posting and consistency and being on brand, on message, and so forth. I just don't randomly post. I could never find the time to understand what you just said and see how would I use that tool, let alone, doing the ads on Facebook and Google, right? So I know there are people like me that are curious. Maybe they'd be good clients down the road, but in the beginning, it's like we've got to know what we don't know and see what's out there. And having a conversation with you, which I loved, is when you said that you can help people get results quicker. And I mean, if we don't get results when we're starting out, that, we're not going to last,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
You
then
got to get results.
exactly. And so that's one of the biggest things that I focused my agency on. And, part of my sale is, I don't do contracts because I believe that, why am I going to tie you down for 6 or 12 months if I'm not able to deliver the results that you're looking for? So I work on, delivering the results as soon as possible because as soon as I'm delivering results for you and you're making money, you're not going to typically want to fire me because you're going to be making more money. So I try to focus on that and really the ROI and then helping them, build upon that.
Yeah. You're like a business partner. I mean, it's like, it'd be crazy to fire someone that's bringing in the revenue. And as long as you bring in more than what it pays out eventually, in the beginning, you got to expect it, right? You got to expect that you're going to pay more than what you get. But after a while, whatever that is based on your product and service that you're offering, it's going to flip. And then you're going to see upside versus making the investment, right?
Yep, that's right.
I think I've got that. Yeah, this is fun. I love this stuff. I could go on all day. I know you specialize mostly with remodelers. But you want to tell us a little bit who you specialize with and how you serve people?
Yeah. So one of our services is called our marketing renovation program, where we help contractors renovate their marketing while they're out renovating homes. And so with that, we help them with their website, their lead generation process, some email nurturing with that, and really help them build out a sales pipeline so that they constantly have, new business and aren't just focused on the next phone call. Because a lot of, especially contractors, tend to just, go from lead to lead to lead and never really have a database or don't really have a process as far as how they follow up with them. So that's part of what we developed through the marketing renovation program. And then the other side of the business is helping other local small business owners, right? That are looking for gaining more exposure online, aren't sure what to do, or looking for advice. And that's what I provide. So I'd like to consult a lot of small business owners and helping them understand possibly what marketing channels they should be focused on, right? Or even what type of website they should build. I had a recent customer or prospect come to me looking for search engine optimization on a website, but the website was built on Google. It's not the very best. It's not a good site to build on for search engine optimization because it doesn't have the capabilities that you need. So, knowing things like that and as a small business owner who's just starting a business, you're not going to know that, right? You just kind of fall into the trap of, oh, I'm going to go and get my domain through Google. And then Google's like, here's your next step. And here's your next step. And kind of just walks you through it. And next thing you know, you're out $500 in Google ads because the next day you got just charged. So just making sure that, helping small business owners have a solid online presence, making sure that they're doing the right things. And I did ultimately really understand what it is that's going on with their marketing so that they don't feel lost and confused.
Oh my goodness. You're just cracking me up. You're reminding me of some of my stories. I thought the landing page was a website I bought, and I asked my host how I could blog on it. He says, this is actually, oh, okay. This is what else do
Yeah.
I need to know, right? I'm sure I'm not the only person, but man,
Yeah, no, it happens all the time.
do not feel dumb with that one. But having a conversation with you, someone that knows this stuff, maybe work out a strategy, spend a few dollars, sign your Jose as a consultant, learn a little bit, and then build your marketing strategy with some knowledge instead of reading a book and just throwing darts everywhere. So
Yep.
it's great stuff. You're making me laugh, but I'm crying inside. If I knew you sooner, and I wouldn't even know what conversation, because I didn't even know what I needed, right? Digital marketing doesn't say enough, right? When people saying they do digital marketing is a whole nother topic, but it's really covers a broad range. And
Very
so
broad.
many times I've heard people say, well, I do digital marketing, and I don't ask what's that. I just move on to the next person, right? What if I'm in a network thing? And really, it's like I help people, or I help small businesses, or I work with small businesses to help them have an online presence, a great website, get traction on the website, get business sooner rather than later, right? Through all of this, right? And then help them with this overall strategy as to where they want to spend their money and time on social media, right? But that's a
Yep.
lot to say, but it's really people like me early on. I didn't have a clue, and spending a little bit of money more than I wanted to over the time was zero results because shiny objects, right? So I'm glad you're in our corner, Jose. It's great.
Yep, I'm here for you.
All right. Appreciate it. And Jose, we can find you. I think I mentioned your website. You've got all your links. We'll put it in the show notes, and we'll find you on LinkedIn as well. Is that where you hang out? Or are you mostly on Facebook or Instagram?
I kind of hang out everywhere.
Okay. Good answer. All right. I'll put all the links in the show notes, and it's been a blast. Thank you so much, Jose. Any final
Thank you for having.
word?
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me on here, and I hope that the listeners got something out of our conversation today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me through any of my social channels. I'm always happy to answer any questions and also provide you with a free consultation. So don't hesitate.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Thanks again, Jose.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you found value in our conversations, please subscribe and leave a review. Our goal is to provide practical strategies for growing your business while staying true to your values. Remember, success in sales is about serving your clients. Serve first, and the selling will follow. We'll be back soon with more insights and inspiration. Until then, keep serving and providing value to others. Good things will happen.